This segment sponsored by Country Heritage Winery. Welcome back. The fun continues at Backroads Distilling, and now I am inside of their actual distillery going to learn the process, and I am joined by their distiller, Patrick Tanesky. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, how are you?
Good to see you. Yes, okay, so this is your wheelhouse. You do some really cool stuff back in this room, and I would love to know the process to try to get a little behind the scenes of what goes on and how our wonderful spirits are made.
Absolutely. Well, the very first thing to know about making spirits is it's going to be based from grain.
Okay.
Especially here for us, we do everything with estate-grown grain. Mm-hmm. So the corn, the wheat, the rye, that's all going to be grown here.
Wow.
The first thing that's going to happen is we are going to do a mash. Right back here, you'll see a big tank in between the fermenters. Mm-hmm. That's where we'll do the mashes at.
Okay.
We will add water, we'll add grain, we'll heat it up, and then we'll do a starch conversion with amylase. Basically, you just add a little bit of amylase, and that will convert the starches into sugars, which then the yeast can ferment.
Okay.
So after we're done with that process, we'll go into one of these fermenters here.
Oh.
And the process of fermentation happens. You add the yeast then eats the sugars, converts it to alcohol. Mm-hmm. Once that process is done, it takes about 4 to 5 days on average. Mm-hmm. Once that process is done, from there we will actually then move that into the still there, where we will strip off the alcohol, and then once it's stripped, we'll get it ready for a finishing run.
Okay, so this here is so cool, this process. I mean, the pipes and everything that we're looking at. So let's talk about how that stripping happens, because I see really long pipes, and I understand that those are different levels of the distilling process.
So there's 4 different columns that you see here. Over there is the first column, that's just the pot distillation column. Mm-hmm. That is one stage of distillation. So if you're making for bourbon, for instance, it's going to literally go from that column to the shotgun condenser, which is a solid copper pipe that you see right there on the right.
Okay.
And you can basically see what that process is happening right now. That's what's coming off the still.
Oh, wow, yes. That is so cool. Okay, so then what happens?
So after that, you have an option of either making bourbon, gin, rum, or vodka.
Okay.
So this column that you see right next to the shotgun condenser is the reflux column. That is going to be used to make gin. So that's going to get you at about 170 proof.
Ooh.
Every time you, every plate that you see, every window you see there is a plate. So that is actually going to continuously get the proof higher and cleaner.
Oh.
And then the same thing is on this vodka column that you see over here. Every window you see is going to be a stage of distillation. So as it travels up that column, the alcohol gets cleaner and cleaner and purer and purer.
Okay, and how does that impact the actual consumer? So you have such a large distilling pipe. What does that mean as we are drinking it?
So particularly in the case of vodka, you want to achieve 190 proof because that's going to be your cleanest version of the product. So it really depends on the product, but in the case of that vodka column, it is super important to achieve 190 just to have the cleanest ethanol possible.
Yeah, and kind of reduces like that hangover feel, the headaches.
Gets rid of the sulfites.
Yes, which is important. So you want the purest, cleanest liquor when you're buying it.
Absolutely.
All right, and that's what y'all are making here. Next, let's look at the barreling process.
Okay.
Okay, Patrick, now we're at the money shot is what I like to call it, because who doesn't love looking at a barrel?
Right.
And you guys have so many, so what is this process? What does it entail?
So this process is basically, we get done with our bourbon, we proof cut it with RO water, which is essential for making sure that we have a quality spirit. From there, we will lower the proof down to anywhere between 110 to 125 proof. Wow. And then it'll go into the barrel. And from there, it's going to sit in these barrels, age, pick up color, pick up flavor for 4 years.
Okay, and that's what makes it so good.
And that's what makes it so good.
You have to have it aged just right. And so is each barrel kind of doing something different to the bourbon?
So
Adding
it
its own
is.
little flavor?
It
Okay.
is. You can actually take the same juice and put it in 2 separate barrels, and each barrel is going to taste very uniquely different from each other.
Okay.
They won't be identical. Literally, there's chemistry happening inside that barrel that nobody can even tell you. It's a mystery. They've paid.
Oh, I love that.
They've paid lots of money to try to figure out what's happening
Right.
in that barrel. Nobody's been able to crack the code.
Right, it's like cross-pollination
Yes.
or something, right? The
Yep.
chemicals are just moving over. And then when you actually do bottle it, that's what makes small batches.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the value.
Yep.
Right there, so yummy. Well, thank you so much for sharing this
Well, thank you
process.
guys for coming.
This segment sponsored by Country Heritage Winery.